I will post this if you guys forget how to do this. But so we've got GeoGebra, we're here on graphing, we've got our tools open. We're going to take a look at, gotta go back a couple sections, what a Voronoi diagram is. So if you did section 3.5, essentially you did this with a triangle. And usually on the test, it looks like you only have to do 4, but I'm going to teach you how to do 5 or 6 because there are some in the problems. So this is a triangle. Anything in this, these are the perpendicular bisectors of the sides. You guys all know, do you know any properties of a perpendicular bisector? So every point on this line here, these distances are equal. It makes isosceles triangles when you pick a point. Does that kind of make sense? It cuts it in half, it's perpendicular. So what does this do? Anything in this region here is closest to point C. They should go to hospital C. Anything in this region here is closest to point A and should go to hospital A. If you're on this line, you are equal distance from C and A, take your pick. If you're, yeah, this, so these are kind of somewhat used with Google, things like Google Maps. Like, this is part of the algorithm, but if you type in McDonald's, there's a lot of McDonald's, right? It's going to probably direct you to the closest one. It's using something like this idea of a Voronoi diagram. It does kind of account for traffic too. For if it's 3, yes. It is called the circumcenter because it is equal distance from all 3, meaning it gives me a circle, not a very good circle here, but that goes through all 3 points. It does not have to be inside the triangle. Hmm. Okay. Remember that a circle is a set of points equal distance from essentially a single point, the center point. That's why when you take a compass, you get that distance, it's fixed, you trace it around. All those points on the circle are equal distance from the center. So we're going to take this. Alicia is visiting a city. After visiting all the historical sites, she wants to have a cup of coffee and something to eat. From her map, she can see 3 coffee shops are located nearby at C, D, and E. She is at F. Use a Voronoi diagram to find which of the coffee shops is nearest to her. Either copy the map into GeoGebra and do your work there, or print it out and construct the diagram using a compass and ruler. So, do you guys have the book? Go ahead. We're going to see if we can copy and paste this into GeoGebra. Copy image. So to construct a perpendicular bisector, I'm going to show you the slow way, but then I'll show you the fast way. So the slow way is take a circle, center it at This is 3.6.1. So you can make two circles. I need to shrink this a little bit. And I can take a line through these 2 points. So I took circles centered at A and C, or no, D and C, and went through. Now, that's the hard way. Who would like to do it the easy way? I figured. That wasn't very hard, but this is how you did it by hand when you had to learn in geometry. You took circles, you put the center at one point, and you made it through the other point. And you did the reverse. Does that make sense how to do that? Jeremy, have you ever done that before? Okay.
Wait, so then, like, how do we interpret this? Okay,
So I'm not done. That was just how to make the first one. I'm going to delete my circles and do it the easy way. So if you see this construct perpendicular bisector tool, click on C and D. That constructed a perpendicular bisector. We're going to construct all three of them. I don't know why it's having trouble right now. I don't know.
sure.
I'm going to construct some points at F, and I'm going to construct a point at F. I think it's not liking it because it's not on a grid or something. There we go. So,
Wait, for rest, you use the slash Spencer.
you select the 2 points that you want the perpendicular bisector between. So I selected D and F, which it made E. So I just selected the points I was going between. Ivy, Jeremy, did you get that? So the perpendicular bisectors. Now that I'm dividing this, my Voronoi diagram needs to be drawn in. It intersects at this point. So I've got some extra lines. Okay.
It's supposed to be.
He is closest to E. So notice that this part is dividing C and D. So I want the line that looks like a perpendicular bisector to the side CD. Does that make sense? So I'm going to hide some things now. So we've got our region subdivided into three. Does that make sense? A lot of the things on your homework and a lot of the things on the tests will give you the Voronoi diagram, or they'll put it on a very nice grid. You guys can find midpoints on a graph, correct? You understand perpendicular is opposite reciprocal for slopes of lines. Most of them are going to be slopes of like 2 and 1/2 or 1 and -1 or 2 and -1/2 or something like that. Very easy slopes. Okay. They're not going to give you really gnarly lines and say, hey, draw this in, make it perfect. No, they'll give you pretty easy ones to draw in. I think, as best I can tell from what I've seen. I can almost guarantee you there will be a question or two like this on your exam. Abby probably likely to have one. You guys are, it wouldn't surprise me if you got two between the two exams. Okay. Yeah, Abby's like, great, this isn't differential equations. Huh.
Like,
It doesn't have Zappy on it. Zappy is a drone. You didn't get B. B is the part that took me an hour. Yeah, one of the questions on her test when I took it. You probably just wouldn't get it. I was very proud of myself. I got it right without the answer key. Um, okay. So looking at this one.
it started the orange line, so I didn't really.
Yeah, it kind of went out. So this one, they gave it to me. This is what a lot of the test ones look like. So the connecting thing is there. Looks like the midpoint is here. Let's verify that that's 4, 4, and 7, 1. So 2.5, yes, between 4 and 1 is 2.5. Between 4 and 7 is 5.5. So it's got to go through there. This has a slope of -1. So my other piece of my line needs to have a slope of 1. And there I have my Voronoi diagram. Not so bad, is it? For 3, relatively simple. 4 or more points. This is where it gets harder.
You have to like then do the same thing again with the triangle and sentence thing.
Not exactly. So what you do is you draw all of the perpendicular bisectors in, and then you end up with like this connector between the two. So I've got this perpendicular bisector. I've got this one. I've got this one. I got that, and I've got that. It's pretty easy to see that I'm going to cut off this. Or this that's going right through there. Or this and that right there. And finding that middle one, this with 5, you end up with this. It gets a little bit complicated with those. But we'll go through a couple of them. I haven't seen a test question with more than 4. You definitely do not have to do more than 6. I don't think you'll ever have to do, I don't think you'll, yeah. I don't think you'll have to do 5. There might be a few in the homework that you have to do 5. Sometimes you get this little box around it, around a single point. So the lines of the box, so this Voronoi diagram is actually this. You have to ignore some of the inside parts. It's just the parts I drew on. Okay, so where'd the box come from? Box is a perpendicular bisector of DE, AE, BE, CE.
Cut off.
And then they did BC, and you only go until where it intersects. They did AB, and you go to where it intersects. They did AD, where it... So this red part really shouldn't even be on the diagram. But they didn't cut out those parts well enough. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead. That's the basic idea. Let's go ahead and actually do one. So I'm going to put these points on my graph. So I'm going to write down the coordinates, and then we'll go to GeoGebra and graph them. Okay, so I'm going to go, where? I don't feel like saving it. See if I can do this as a table. Okay, so here I went to GeoGebra, everybody do this, and click on the table part, and we're just going to enter the points. So I'm looking on the side here. Now that I've got my points entered, let me know when you guys have those. I'm going to delete the ones that are drawn on. So now I'm going to go to Tools. And I'm going to use my nice perpendicular bisector tool. It's not going to let me do that. It's going to make me create these as points. I don't know. But if I've got them there, it'll click nicely. Oh, wait. I should do them in the order that it had them labeled in. I don't know, but I just used the point tool. Did everybody do that? We're going to do the perpendicular bisector of B, or AB. So now I need to figure out, I'm going to put some points at some of these intersections. Yours looks different than mine. So those are the points. So what I'm going to do to draw in my Voronoi diagram, I'm going to take a ray. So I know I have to have this. And I know I have to have this. I only have 4 lines too. They're just crossing in weird ways. So if I go up and delete, why did that delete? Let's see if I can. Okay, this isn't letting me. I did AB, I did AC, I did CD, and I did BD. Jeremy and Ivy, do you have those for? I do need BC. Maybe. I probably do. That might be how I connect these. Okay, this is how it goes. So, my Voronoi diagram. This is separating AC. This is separating here. This here. That there. So now let's see if I can hide. Okay, here's how I'm doing it. If you right click on these and you go to settings, you can unshow the perpendicular bisectors. But before I do that, I have to create the rays where I drew them. That's not what I wanted.
Right.
So if I'm doing ray, I'm separating there, this one. And then I need a segment. So if I right click on, and I'm intentionally doing this on the line, not the ray, and I'm unclicking show object. I need to be on the move tool. So I'm trying to hide some of my things. Okay. Does this look like a Voronoi diagram for, this need to be there, for those points? So how did I do this? So I created my perpendicular bisectors. And then I figured out where they would be. So the key was I needed all 5 of those perpendicular bisectors. I kind of figured out this one and these two. And then when I have my line, So I'll put a perpendicular bisector back in here. So I have this. Create a ray going from here out because I need to separate it. I use go click on the move tool, right click on the thing and go settings and uncheck the show object. And it can disappear. Does that kind of make sense? So, I, so if I've got a line here, so do you understand how I made the rays for the halves? How about we'll do another one? Because
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just doing it wrong.
well, that's it. That's the hard part of this. So we have these points. So let's start a new one. It says to complete the Voronoi diagram from what they gave me. So let's do this one by hand because you're going to have to do a lot of those. So this is the section in your book. You may want to get on a graph and just draw these out. This is bad. This one is really not that good. 2, 3.5. Let's get a slope of. So to complete it, I'm just sketching this in. This is not very good. So I took the midpoint of DE. I can tell that they don't have that perpendicular bisector there, correct? I took the midpoint. I figured out that it had a slope of -2, and I'm drawing in roughly a slope of 1/2. So that will give me this box.
I thought that I'm supposed to do like every combination of points perpendicular bisector, but some of them are like not on there. Like DC, they don't.
DC doesn't do you any good. DC will do you good. It's right here. That is part of your diagram. DB won't do you any good. AB, how do I know which ones I do and don't do? So this is my Voronoi diagram. So I can tell I've got to separate everything from E. Does that make sense? So that's what gave me the box. That's why I drew in the box. There is a point out here where you are closer to A or B than you are to E. So I need a perpendicular bisector for AB. There's never a point where I have to decide between A and C. Because E is always closer to A, right? So I don't need to do AC. That kind of makes sense? There's never a point where I would have to decide whether I should go between A and C. Yeah, I'd be going between A and E or E and C, and I've got those two. There is a point where I might need to go between B and C, so that's why I need this perpendicular bisector of BC. And they intersect at these corners, which is kind of nice. There's a point where I'd need it CD. But again, there's no chime where I'd need to really, where do I need to go to B or do I need to go to D? It's either going to be obvious because E is in the middle. That kind of makes sense. So that is a completed Voronoi diagram. And keep in mind, these are all perpendicular bisectors, but I only keep the part of the perpendicular bisector that makes sense. And it just takes some practice. It's a kind of confusing the first time you try to do it. But when you're doing them, if you need help, ask. So I'll do a 5 after, and we'll just pick our own points. But here, Mr. Pizza Man was divided town into 3 regions. Each house has pizza delivered to the closest of the 3 pizzerias, A, B, or C. The town lies within a shaded area. He has just opened a 4th pizzeria site at D. Draw the Voronoi cell for site D. So my midpoint here is 1.52. My slope is again 1/2. So this is going, so I'm doing my perpendicular bisector. The ones I've seen on the exams will give you things that don't go at halves. Okay. So I did my perpendicular bisector. It goes through to here. I need to also do the perpendicular bisector of CD. And I'm confident that it's going to meet at that point. So my Voronoi diagram is going to look like. I didn't worry too much about the slope on this one because I knew it would meet at this point. And my drawing is definitely not perfect. Um, I know what that means, but I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look. I've never heard it either.
It's where the derivative is zero, it's.
Critical point
Right?
as stationary point. I've heard it as critical point.
Yeah, okay, 'cause I just wondered,
Does that kind of make sense for drawing this in? Okay, the next one, they're going to give you a Voronoi diagram and ask you some questions about it. So, in a national park, there are 4 territories, A, B, C, and D. The table shows the number of wolves. Guys, guys, voice level of 1. There are 4 territories, A, B, C, D, in which the wolves live. The table shows the number of wolves in each territory. Park ranger who manages the flora and fauna also, not a very good sentence. Has the park, oh, has rangers who manage the flora and fauna. If I read it correctly, it's a fine sentence. Although pack sizes vary, rangers are concerned there are too many wolves in territory A. They plan to reallocate 14 of the wolves to a new territory. The new den will be at the intersection point of the current Voronoi diagrams. Okay? If a visitor is at 3-2 before the relocation, what territory are they in? So they're at 3-2. What territory are they in? D. Now, if sites A12, B34, wow, that's a nice number, and D41, then determine the best location to relocate the wolves so they're as far as possible from the other wolf packs. It said it has to be at one of these 2 points. This is
Stop. Wait for.
uh-huh.
So then we end up like.
So we're looking for the point that is the greatest distance from all of these. Now, if they'd given me a decent point, how could you find the distances?
Between.
Yeah, you'd use the distance formula for all of these, correct?
Between points. Like the two intersections.
So you'd be looking for the distance from A to B, or we'll call this E and F. You'd be looking distance A to E, A to B, A to D. Clearly, E to C is further than C to F, right? So I don't really need to do that. A to C is further. I believe this is further than that. So I believe we're at point E is where they should put it. It says then determine the best positions. And it said it had to be one of the intersection points. It has to be E and F. E or F. Yes.
So.
So if you look at how they did it, oh, they call them M and N. They created a circle at M that went through those two. They created a circle at N that went through C. They found the radii of the circles, which implies that you know the coordinates of M and N, which they didn't give you. Okay. A problem on the exam would give you those coordinates. The one that's on your Unit 3 test gives you the coordinates. Okay. So you will have to check distances. Um, the little method here of saying these circles meant you did not have to check as because that's the circumcenter. N is the circumcenter of those three, so you do not have to check all the circles. M is the circumcenter of these 3 points. So again, you don't have to check all of them. That, if you don't know that, yes, you got to just check all three. Okay. Sometimes they might ask you a point that's not even on any of those, and you'll just have to calculate the distance. It's not difficult. It's tedious, but it's not that difficult. Enjoy the not that difficult.
No.
You know how to do distance, right, Jeremy? Ah. So it should be at M. I would say 3, 2 is definitely closest to my M region. It's closer to that than D. And you would show that with a distance formula. That makes sense.
2, 2, 3, and N.
Well, no, not N. I would do 2, 3, and D, 2, 3, and M. N isn't being used. We decided the region is going at N. It had to be M or N. We decided it was M because that's the greatest distance from these other ones. So if you look at the question originally, it said, manage flora and fauna. A new den will be at one of the intersection points, M or N, and They want it to be as far as possible from the other ones. We decided it was M because that was further when we did the distance formula. And then the point 32, you can do the distance from here to here and the distance from there to there. This one's square root of 2. That one's much less than 1. Okay, should we do a Voronoi diagram? Let's do one. I'm gonna give you 5 points. We're gonna put it on a graph and we're gonna make it. Okay? I'm gonna pick the points in somewhat random way. So let's go to GeoGebra. You can create an account and save if you ever want to. For this purpose, I don't care. Okay, let me know when you guys have those points in. Okay, I'm gonna go to my tools and I'm gonna make them all points. And now I'm gonna start creating perpendicular bisectors. I'm gonna start by surrounding E. Oh, that's interesting. So, does that make sense how I've surrounded E? I'm going to take so I've got kind of a box here around E. I'm going to take my segment tool and I'm going to make segments over them. And then I'll go back to grab my move tool. Let me know when you guys have those 4 done.
Wait, I did A B B D D C C A, and then I did E A E B E B.
So let's just do the 4 right away. No more.
But
Yeah, but it gets really hard if you make too many at once. Because you get too many things on your screen. Does everybody have these 4? And then I'm going to create this. And I'm going to go settings. And I'm going to change the color. That's not what I wanted to. So now if I right click on that little line segment that I drew in, does that make sense what I just did with the color? Ivy and Jeremy, that makes sense? This is going to make it a little easier, I think. And I get all these segments to change. This thing's in the way. So I'm going to just create my segments and then I'll change all those colors to red. When I change the color, I click on the arrow tool, right click on the thing. Does everybody have that?
Sorry. That's it. But I didn't see it. Why is it not selecting this? Wait, okay, just gonna see. Oh,
Yes, Jeremy, you've got the hide idea.
okay. Maybe the lines of this first. Um. And
So then when I want to hide them, click on the line, not the line segment. Hello. Now I'll do my perpendicular bisectors again. Except now I'm going to do AB, BD, DC, and AC. Oh, that's interesting. Yes. So, ray tool. There's two perpendicular bisectors that kind of look like they go through G. So I'm doing one of them at a time. And then I hide all my perpendicular bisector lines. I do need another perpendicular bisector here, though. And that becomes my region.